Hello, welcome to Dysfunctional Dialogue. I am John McParland, your host, and this is Bill Shores, my very special guest. Bill, longtime friend, how you doing?
So what's today's topic? What are we going to converse about?
I was thinking, what could Bill offer this program? That's right, I'm calling it program.
It's going to be a real quick conversation.
No. So you have spent a lot of time in New York. You grew up in New York, although some of your friends would not agree with that.
Yeah, Staten Island is technically part of New York, but
It's New York.
I did not have a New York City day-to-day experience, though I did spend a lot of time in Manhattan starting at the age of 11.
Right,
So,
and that's what I'm gonna get at because I'd be curious to hear one or two or some of your top stories, whether it be interesting things you've seen or done, experienced. Now, I remember you were saying that at a very young age that you were riding the subways just all over
correct.
the city,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is pretty cool at like 11 years old to just
Me
be
and,
out
me,
and
and,
about.
me and one of my friends, we would take the bus or the train to the Staten Island ferry, and we would spend the entire day on the subway, riding all over. You
That's
know,
awesome. And you would just stay underground. You would just stay on the subways. This way you would just be paying your buck or 50 cents back then, whatever the hell it was.
yeah, you just had to pay one time, and as long as you didn't leave the system, you could transfer and stay on trains all day long. So did that multiple times. Yeah, and once in a while we get out and walk around the streets and whatever. But yeah, I mean it's close to 50 years ago, so I don't have too many vivid, clear memories of
No,
it.
but that's a pretty cool thing to be doing at 11 years old. I was talking to, I think it was my sister, and she was expressing how she had a lot of trepidation back when her kid had to first start going to high school, which granted would be a year or two older than that. And mind you, also things changed a little bit, or at least they changed in our perception, right? How much they've really changed, I'm not sure, but we get peppered with all this news program, so we tend to hover more with our
Yeah,
kids
I
than
mean, when I was doing this, don't forget, it was the 70s, the
yeah,
late 70s, early 80s, and
yeah.
the New York City, crime and subway system wasn't exactly,
It was
a
terrible.
pristine environment. So,
No, it was terrible. It was
but
terrible.
yeah, but that freedom and that
Yep.
ability to just go and explore and figure out your own problems,
Yeah.
with no lifeline, it served me very well, I think, in life because the trepidation never existed
Yep.
to just get up and go. It's part of why, after graduation from college, my number one thing I wanted to do was drive cross country, just keep exploring, or as you would say, wandering. Just, you know, that's where it comes from. That just, hey, let me see what's around the corner. Let
Yeah.
me see what's over the hill. Let me
Yeah.
see what's over there. Yeah, just
Yeah, and I'm the same way. In fact, Debbie and I, one of our favorite things to do whenever we go somewhere, whether it be a day trip, weekend trip, or even a vacation, we very rarely plan it out in any real way.
yeah.
We'll just go and explore, and we'll just have some fun figuring out something new, something different.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, nothing pans out that particular day, which never happens,
Yeah.
we'd be okay with that. We'd be like, all right, that's fine. But you said something very interesting. That's becoming a regular theme here on this, and that is, well, kids are stupid, right? And also the parents of the kids back then. It seemed like they didn't care. I mean, obviously there are other things going on and stuff, but
Yeah. Well, it's true in a way. I mean, because it wasn't just me or you; it was everybody. It was just the
yep,
way it was back then. It was, you come home when the street lights come on and
yep,
get out of the house, go play. And
yeah.
my mother's rule was call every two when I was going into the city. Okay, call every 2 hours.
Oh, so
So
she knew you would be going into
oh yeah,
Manhattan or
yeah,
other
yeah.
boroughs and stuff.
And here's how concerned. Call every 2 hours. So think about this. If I
Yeah.
called at 1 o'clock, she wouldn't be expecting me till 3 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, I call. Everything's fine. At 1:05, I'm abducted. By some lunatic.
Yeah.
My mother doesn't care until
Oh,
about 3:30. About 3:30. 2.5 hours later, when I'm a half hour late to call.
she might have been
Meanwhile,
hopeful. She might have been hopeful.
yeah, she has no idea where I was. She just knows I called from some random payphone in Manhattan. You know,
Supposedly,
yeah,
you know.
right. And
At this point, you could have been out in Jersey in the and he pulled you out of the trunk just in time for you to make a phone call. Hi, Mom, I'm okay.
it was always the classic, you call collect and they decline they
Oh, it
decline.
was one of those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we had
So
those.
this
Yeah,
way, they didn't have to pay for it. I didn't have to have change for the payphone. You just collect
yeah.
collect call from William. No, and the operator, and they would know I'm fine.
See, that's pretty reasonable, right? I mean, because most parents back then. Now, granted, most parents didn't have a kid that were riding the subway at 11 years old, all over the 5 boroughs. Um, but most parents back then would literally just say get out or say see you later, and we're not thinking anything of it other than the fact if you had chores, we did chores,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that had to get done. That was usually weekends in our house where we would just kind of just tear through everything and get everything done, put on some old 8 tracks, and we'd all 6 of us would be cleaning the house up. But yeah, when it comes to just going out and being gone for the day, didn't have to. They didn't think about it.
No.
It's a different time.
Well, there's that great thing on YouTube, and I know you've seen it, and I've sent it out, and it's called Tough Kids. And
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's an awesome half-hour
Yeah.
video on YouTube. I'm surprised Brian hasn't sent it over. As a matter of fact,
He may have actually at some
yeah,
point.
but I've never opened one.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's 30 minutes about growing up in the 70s, and
it's spot on.
It could have been any of our neighborhoods.
Yep.
And that was it's a very good depiction of what.
Yeah, I bumped into somebody the other day at a party who was originally from northern New Jersey. And one of the first things I asked him, I'm like, well, what years were you there?
Yeah.
And then he told me, so he was there the same years that I was in my formative years as well. And I said, Action Park.
Yeah. Accident Park.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I survived Action Park and we had a fun time talking. Did you go to Action Park back then?
Yeah, we called it Accident Park. I know other people called it Class Action Park. Other people called it Traction Park.
Yeah.
It had all these different names. But yeah, my Action Park injury. We most of us had them was going down the Alpine slide.
Well, let's hear that.
Yeah, it was just basically a piece of plastic with skateboard wheels on the bottom.
Yeah, that's right. It was like a dinner tray almost, a little bigger than a dinner tray.
Exactly. It was a flimsy piece of plastic with skateboard wheels and the equivalent of a big wheel brake in the middle that you would pull up on to try to stop.
And it was just this little sort of a smooth, mind you, concrete that only came up maybe this high up off
6 inches.
And you had complete control of how fast you were going down that hill. So as a little kid, you could either go whoo and fly down, which most of us did, or you could ride the breakdown, which most of us didn't.
Right, and there was no guardrails, no safety, no nets. It was just
you and crippled and death.
Yeah, and that's it. I lost, I think, probably a third of the skin on my leg, because I went airborne. And
Same here.
Concrete and, continued onward because you're doing 30, 35 miles an hour.
Yes. Well, first you drag along it for a while and do some tumbling.
Yes, thankfully, because the last thing you want to do is come to an abrupt stop at 30 miles an hour.
No, that could be a problem.
Being dispersed. But yeah, that was something you had.
Yeah, because I was riding the Expert one all day long, and you were able to floor it on the Expert one just about the whole way down. And late at night, at least back then when I went, they didn't have lights by the Expert one, so when it got dark, they closed it.
Yeah.
So not that I don't know why that will make a difference. You're going to die either way, So I went on a medium one. And I tried flooring it. It wasn't built for flooring it. I found that out the hard way.
I'm curious if you Google how many people died at Action Park, what the number actually is, because people did die there.
People died there.
Drowning.
They had like kids in high school that were the ones managing it at that time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, they'll be all right. Walk it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
We're going through that tube, I think it was the cannonball, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tube that shot you out off, and you came out the cliff. And you come flying off, like dropping like 20, 25 or 30 feet, whatever the hell it was.
And there was no timing, so the people that went 8 seconds before you were still in the water right where you were going to land.
Yeah. You're hitting them, and they could pop out. That's right.
There was no spacing.
No.
Hey, wait 30 seconds for
no consideration.
It was just...
I got the worst enema someone could possibly get on that really, I think it was the Kamikaze. What's that?
Please tell me more.
Yes, let me tell you some more, Bill. No, Bill, let me tell you about my enema. No, but going down that kamikaze,
Yes.
right? If you didn't like
Well,
cross your legs or do something creative,
right.
you were getting yourself the water injection of a lifetime.
Or maybe you were enjoying it. I don't know. That's
I could say wholeheartedly, I did not enjoy that. Right? I think it was then I realized I was heterosexual, if not
yeah.
not
There you
before.
go.
You know, if ever there was a seminal moment where I realized, okay,
There you go.
that's
I
not
don't
for
like
me,
this.
it would have been then.
So, yeah, no, it's Action Park was cool. You know that and Great Adventure, and then the occasional trip to Coney Island. Those were the.
Yeah, I never went to Coney Island. I was supposed to go with my grandfather. I
You've
spent
never been to Tilt still to this day.
well, no. I was well, actually, technically, I've been there, but I've never gone like inside and riding around. I went to the beach, I hung out there and stuff. I've never actually been in there. I went to the aquarium. That's right there.
You've never been on the Cyclone.
No, I've never been on a cyclone. No, I never got a dog there either, for that matter.
Nathan's. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? But that's kind of typical, though, for a lot of New York area people. I mean, have you ever been to the Statue of Liberty, Bill?
Yes.
Have you really?
Yes. Been to the top.
Have you ever been to the top of the Empire State Building?
Yes.
Really? See, that's atypical for a New Yorker or a New York area person.
It's top of the
Most of
World
us don't
Trade,
fucking care. We're like, just
World
whatever.
Trade Center, top of the Empire State
Well, the
Building.
Trade Center, the only reason I went to Trade Center was corporate stuff. So I was on did the Windows in the World stuff.
Yeah, that was Tower One.
Well,
Tower
you
Two.
worked there, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
different.
Tower Two had the observation deck, which was open to the public. So I was
Yeah.
doing that when I was a kid. That was part of my trips.
Oh, really? Part of your adventure? That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then there probably wasn't much security. They'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, kid. You're running around like a little madman inside that building."
Whatever it was for kids, I don't remember as $2-3, whatever. So I have no recollection of what it cost. But yeah, me and my buddy, we would go in there. We went to the top of the Empire State Building, top of the World Trade Center.
Nice.
Didn't do the Statue of Liberty with them. We did that with family. But yeah, up in the Crown. So I don't even know if you can still go to the Crown after 9/11. I think you could just go into the pedestal. I don't know if they still let you climb to the top.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there was a period of time where they opened it back up again, but it might have just been like a temporary special thing or
You
something.
used to be able to go up in the arm to the torch.
Yeah,
But that became structurally unsound, I think, before you and I were even born, and they shut that off. But up until, I would say, 9/11, you can go in and into the Crown and look around.
So, in all of those adventures, and it might not have been back then, I'm sure you saw some things, 9/11 aside, of course, I'll talk about that, while working in the city that were probably interesting or curious. See, that you're already chuckling, so you definitely have something in your head right there.
Well, it depends on your definition of interesting. I mean, New York City is filled with eccentric personalities. I've seen people getting mugged, beaten up. I've seen, just lunatics, homeless people performing and yelling at air.
Was that your performance?
Yeah, it all depends on what your idea of interesting is. I mean, I've seen plenty of celebrities on the streets. I've seen, just what's great about New York City is you can walk down the same street at the same time every day and never see the same thing twice.
That's true.
So that's what makes it New York.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would want to live there anymore, but
No.
it's definitely, I love visiting there and spending a day there.
Yeah, spending a day there is fine. Any more than that for me right now at this stage in my world, I'd prefer not. There's so many other places to go and do.
Yeah. I don't miss commuting there 5 days a week, every day. So
I remember. So I was working there. I didn't spend my childhood in there by any stretch. And we once in a blue moon, my family and I would come in from Bergen County and go in the city, but that was it. And certainly wasn't there roaming around as a little kid. But when I was working there after school, I remember one day you said to me, after you get there, go into the restroom, take a paper towel, and just wipe your forehead and look down at that paper towel and tell me what you see.
Yes.
And it was just, you see the smog stuck to your skin.
Yeah.
It was nasty. I never forgot that.
If it's a hot day, and just the sweat, it's just the particulates get, it's.
Yeah. That was pretty gross. So something else that was gross, working at that same place. So on the corner, I worked on the corner of 6th and Spring. So this would have been, I think, on Varick. Yeah. And remember those old wire baskets, the garbage cans, right? and just it. I mean, I can see it now to this day, and now I'm gonna put the thought into your head. Unfortunately, walking by New York, you've probably seen similar things this as well, but this one stuck with me when some old homeless man
Mm-hmm.
just dropped his pants down around his ankles,
Mm-hmm.
lifted himself up on the wired can, and I mean the wrinkliest ass you would ever possibly see. I mean, it was wrinkler than a face of like a pug. Is that the dog that's got all
Yeah,
the wrinkles? It
yeah,
was amazing. It was. I mean, that was like a Guinness Book of World Record kind of wrinkled ass.
yeah.
And he just started plopping them right there into the wire basket. And I'm like, all right, good for you. At least you're not
Well,
just dropping it anywhere else. You're putting it in,
right.
in a
He's putting
waste
it in the
can.
trash. He was considerate, so that's
But it was like noon.
yeah.
I was getting my hot dog at the hot dog vendor, like right there.
Gotta go. You gotta go, man.
Yeah,
Better out than in. So keeps taking care
yeah,
of business. So
yeah.
yeah,
That
no,
was
I've
good.
seen that stuff. It's part of the human condition in the city. You get you know people that a lot of them are mentally ill. A lot of them have given up on life, and they won't
Oh,
go
well,
into
don't bring
jail.
it down. If you're
Well,
going to say a lot of them are mentally ill, giving up on life.
yeah, I mean they don't want to go into the shelters because they're afraid, that for their safety. So they'd rather be out on the street.
So, I mean, you obviously did a lot of giggling there when I asked you, or laughing. I saw that you had some stories, and was it just that flash of those different things that you threw there, or do you have one or two particular ones that you'd like to
No, I mean
share?
they're all similar. People fornicating, homeless people. Walk past that. People, what similar to what you saw with the guy with the trash can. The flamboyant characters, for lack of a better word, that tend to traverse the streets of the village. So yeah, it's
All right,
been it's been an eye opener to see. It led me to the conclusion that human beings are the most bizarre species of animal on the planet.
not that we know of, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's reasonable. We certainly have enough data to show that we are an interesting group. Okay, so you mentioned the village. So I had to work a Saturday. Again, we're at that same place I was working at. I got up early. It was probably like 8, 9 a.m. or something like that. And I was on the
Mhm.
subway platform in Hoboken getting ready. This is when I was living in Hoboken,
Yeah.
getting ready to go into the city. And these two, what I thought was an effeminate looking male and a female,
Yes.
were
You
stand.
think. Yes.
What's that?
You think.
Well, I did at first,
Oh.
right? Um, and now, so I was standing next to him, and then all of a sudden, one who was dressed like it was the one who I thought was a female. I guess was a female. At least I think I'm not sure if they were trans or if they were dressing like that or whatever. But um, she said, um, I mean, right down to the saddle shoes that the cheerleaders wore. It was
And it
pretty
wasn't
impressive.
Halloween. And it wasn't Halloween.
No, no, and she was good looking.
Or he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, it was. I mean, it seemed like the person would have been born a he, or
Okay.
at least as the public had perceived it. So, um, and she says, "Don't I know you?" In a
Mhm.
very feminine voice. "Don't I know you?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't. I don't think we've met. No." And I don't know. A few seconds goes by. "Don't I know you?"
Mhm.
Right, and then a little more time. Have I told you the story?
No.
Wow, I can't believe that. So a little more time goes by, and now she said it again, and I was like, you know what, this is starting to feel like harassment. So I walked away a little further, and then when the train came in, I purposely got onto the next
Right.
car. So I got off the train at Christopher Street,
Mhm. Oh,
right?
prime time. Yeah. You're right
Right.
in the
Well, yeah,
heart.
sure, in the heart of, and
Yes.
of course, that's where they got off as well.
Yes. What a
Because
shock.
to walk from Christopher to Spring is a quick, easy walk, and that was my daily commute.
Mhm.
And I get off the train, and lo and behold, from behind me, because I got off quick and started hustling up the stairs, "Don't I know you?"
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And now it's starting to, some guys they'd be a little pissed off now at this point, right? This is me, so I started to chuckle a little bit. I thought this was funny, just whatever. Saturday morning, what the hell's going on? Leave it to freaking New York to make my morning interesting. And so I start chuckling a little bit, and I get up to the top of the stairs. I start crossing the street, and she says it again. Don't I know you?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm really starting to bust out laughing. And she goes like really loud, "Stop playing the hetero role."
Oh, I've heard you say that, but I never heard the whole story behind
Oh,
it.
is that right? Yeah. So now I'm like as good as done. Like I mean, I might have been like tearing up with like
Right,
laughter. Like holy shit,
right,
what the hell is happening to me
right,
here?
right,
You
right.
know.
Yeah.
And then even louder, people all over the place. Right now, it's a relatively quiet neighborhood, particularly on
Yeah.
Saturday morning. But there were probably 8, 9, maybe 10 people within hearing distance and viewing distance of this.
Mm-hmm.
And she at the top of her lungs goes, "Didn't I give you a blowjob?" I laughed all the way to Spring Street.
Right, right.
I laughed all the way to Spring Street.
Wasn't a coworker at the Baldwin Paper Company, was it? I mean,
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I've never heard that story before. I've heard the "don't play the hetero role"
Don't play
multiple
the hetero
times,
role.
but I never got the context of it before.
Yeah. And I'm sure I told you a second part as well that didn't I give you? So that's a fun little story. And of course there were stories like late at night, hanging out with the guys and that stuff. And Brian kicking the cardboard box that he should not have.
Human being inside. Yes, I remember
Yeah. That was terrible. Brian shook like the day that we tried to scare him at that rest stop.
The rest stop, yeah.
Yeah, when that box moaned.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was yeah, I remember that. Oh man. Yeah, and then Joe getting left on the subway where he rode it overnight and he still managed.
No, hold on. That's a whole story all in and of itself.
I don't know how he found your apartment the next morning.
But apparently, see, neither one of us were there. We were already back in Hoboken.
Yeah,
but he was with.
I don't know how he made it back to Hoboken.
So
and
Joe
got there.
So for anyone that might be listening to this, Joe was 6'4", high 200, just a big dude, but just a nice jovial way about him. Nice, relaxing kind of jovial way about him. Loud, but happy loud.
Yes.
And I want to say Jeff was with him, and I can't remember who else. Was it Sacco?
We were on the subway and
with Tim.
He got off the subway, but
the other two guys that were with him,
he didn't move fast enough. Yeah, the doors closed as he was walking towards the doors.
Yeah, that's right.
And the doors closed on the train,
and he was stuck in the train.
And he was stuck in the train because he didn't get up fast enough. And then the train started pulling away, and he was just there, and the train left. And instead of getting off at the next stop and walking back, or getting off at the next stop and taking the train back he went back and sat down, and he fell asleep.
Yeah,
and he was woken up at he said, just going by what Joe said, 7:30 in the morning the next morning.
And now because it was St. Patrick's Day, we were partying.
Yeah,
and the next day was a work day.
Yeah, middle of rush hour, and a woman was screaming at him, "Move over, move over!" He had passed out on the.
He went to sleep with no one around him, passed out calmly, and woke up in his mind a second later in a crowded, bright room with some woman shaking him. Move over!
He rode the A train back and forth all night.
Oh, I thought it was the C.
Well, so
either
it's
way,
the same line,
same thing.
Yeah, but it's on the same line.
Yeah, which means he's going to, what would that be? He would be going to the Bronx over to Brooklyn.
Yeah, the C terminates at Dyckman Street in northern Manhattan. The A goes all the way up, but the A goes all the way out to the Rockaways. The C stops in Brooklyn, but it's the local. So I don't know if it was the A or the C. We were just on that 8th Avenue line.
And we were amazed he didn't get rolled.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, who's going to touch him? Like you said, 6'4", 260. Nobody's going to bother him.
Probably. I mean, definitely in his case, right?
But the fact that he then woke up, God knows where. He could have been in Manhattan. He could have been in Brooklyn when they woke him up, but he made it back to Hoboken.
I think the story goes that prior to that happening, he was hanging out with Jeff and one or two other guys, and Joe walked up and asked the homeless man for a cigarette.
Albert.
The guy's name was Albert?
Albert, the HIV positive bum.
Did he announce himself as HIV positive, or is that just the way the story?
I don't remember if that's just what we. No, I think that's what we said after Joe ate the cigarette.
Well,
He's like,
that's what I was going to get
"How
to.
do you know we
And
didn't have AIDS?" You
but
know,
it was in the guy's ear, right? Now I'm not sure if it
behind his
was
ear, like
here.
a pencil. It was tucked behind his ear, like you would put
Yeah.
a pencil there. And Joe just grabbed it and in front of the guy went and ate the guy's cigarette.
Oh, he ate the cigarette.
He
Oh
ate the cigarette.
God.
Yeah. And we're like, Joe, homeless guy, he could have AIDS, you know. So he became HIV positive at that point. But yeah, his name was Albert. And
Well, Joe didn't become HIV positive at that
no,
point. To be clear, let's just.
we said that bum could have had HIV, you know. Yeah, so that was Joe in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he didn't think anything of it. And somehow we made his way back, as you said, and we were all just like passed out, lying around.
alcohol really gives you an enhanced ability to make bad decisions. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
why
they say
he didn't think anything of it.
God takes care of babies and drunks. Supposedly, that's how.
Brian's going to live to be 123. So
Just no way.
look at Keith Richards. I mean, come on.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's like Brian's hero, right? In so many ways.
This is the part where I say I rest my case. So.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable. So I mean, so you had said to me, so what are we going to talk about? Did you have something in your mind, a story, college story, or something in particular that was on your mind?
No, I mean, listen, just the whole, I don't know, the whole, you know, chemistry of our group of friends has lasted, you know, going on over 40 years now, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and we all get together. It's as often happens with good old friends. You don't feel like even a day has passed once you're back together and hanging out.
I mean, it's amazing to me that it's been over 40 years since you and I met on that walk to the falls. And,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't say we were friends at that point. We knew each other. We give the little typical head nod on campus.
Yeah, our whole freshman year, we just acknowledged each other.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
It wasn't until
hey, what's up? And then it wasn't until sophomore year that everything, you know, at least for me, because I was with a different group of guys that freshman year, and then I moved on to the second floor of O'Shea in sophomore year, and that's when, you know, my life changed.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean that's great. I tell people, and I mean it, that you know my closest friends in life to this day are people I met at Niagara.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's great. I mean, so I mean, just between you and Jeff and Chris and
Yeah, the list goes on. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Mike and I just got together with with his girl and my wife. With Sharon, we went out about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, we went out to dinner. A month before that, we went to the races down here on the Jersey Shore, to the track, and we're still doing stuff together. We still get together. We're doing this.
I want to make new stories though. You know, I want to get together and make new stories, and not everyone's particularly comfortable with that.
Yeah, but they're not going to be stories like when we had no responsibilities, we didn't have jobs that meant anything, we didn't have families and kids to be responsible for, and you know, we just, you know, we were young and invincible back then. So, yeah, no, I want to keep making the stories, but you know,
we were young and stupid, is what we were.
Yeah. Nothing's going to rival the stories that we had, you know, way back when. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, and I have it here. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, but we did that whole sort of like the NCAA brackets with our stories. You know,
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, Mike versus Carrie stealing signs, Brian's headlights pointing up in the ditch. Tim losing his car, popcorn / calculator prints in red. Joe passes out on the subway, right? You know, Jeff holding the golf title for.
Can you please send that to me?
Yeah, it's on my other computer, but I can definitely.
Please send that to me. That's
it's an Excel spreadsheet with 64 of
some of the best stories. Yeah, I could really use that. I mean, a lot of them are locked in here pretty good.
Yeah. Oh no, there's someone there. You're gonna go, oh shit.
Right? Yeah, good. That's what I want. Exactly what I want.
Yeah, but yeah, there's plenty of stories, and that's just the ones we were able to remember. You know.
Well, any of those you just pulled it up right now? Any of those that you think maybe we should rap about here for a minute?
Well, the cake fight is on there. There's the Scrabble game, which we shouldn't rap about here.
We're not going to talk about the Scrabble game.
We shouldn't talk about.
Wait, what was that last one we shouldn't?
Stapling each other, rocks in Bill's hubcaps, human mud bowling. Mike.
Human mud bowling was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That
Mike.
was like a whole thing because that started, I think, with, and I could be conflating the two stories,
Yeah,
but that may have started out with the battle at Fort Niagara.
yeah. So it's yeah. Mike wrecks 2 cars in 3 minutes.
Wait, wait.
In his own driveway. Uh,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that's
that was
another.
post college. That was way out, well after college.
Yeah, exactly. Brian left in a stranger's car in Hoboken.
That was his bachelor party.
Yeah, yeah, and I won't say why Mike would call his mom when we were at
No,
college.
we won't say that too. But there's a lot of good stuff to talk about, and this is
Ernest Borgnine, Joe falling out of the golf cart, making melting the beer ball with jumping jacks, in the
yeah,
barn. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
quite a fun,
So there really is I mean, I would say dozens of stories
Yes.
that could be discussed in this form and otherwise,
Yeah.
as it should. Because it's about time that we let the world in on some of those interesting little moments.
Yeah. I think Go is on there. We won't elaborate, but yeah, there's that's on the list.
I alluded to that in a text the other
I
day.
know you
Yeah.
did. You did. So yeah, Doctor. So
Yeah.
yeah,
God, that was a great story, man. Oh my God. That was such a great story. Sorry, guys. There's no way I'm telling that one.
yeah.
There's
So
no.
listen, it's been. Listen, I hope we got another 30 years left together, if not more, and it's been phenomenal. So
Yeah.
it's been a big part of my life, and is brought a lot of happiness. So and continues to do so.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Good stuff for sure.
So no specific story. I mean, listen, the ones that stand out, some of them were just mentioned. The 9/11 reenactment is a classic one. The the text messages when your wife was having her health scare, and you were bailing on the camping trip. That was why. So just things like that you can't do unless you are truly friends with somebody. Because if you can't
Yeah.
give somebody shit at their lowest moment, when
Well,
they
you're starting to make me wonder about what can and cannot be told. I mean, can I tell that 9/11 one, Bill? I mean, do you think? I mean, I don't know. I
too
mean,
soon, too soon.
it's true. It's true. It really is still too soon. It is.
And for those that might not be where I was in the World Trade Center on September 11th. That's why that's being referenced. And,
Right.
yeah, but no, I think that's best left to people who understand the intentions of the actions there.
Well,
So,
and that's I always try to get that through.
yeah,
Look, is it possible that I'm going to say something offensive on here? Yeah, it is. Or my
but not
get
to
or
me.
I would never do anything offensive to you, Bill.
I
No.
don't think you could. I mean, that's the point, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible for you to offend me.
Right, because and that's kind of my point that it comes from a good heart. I
Right.
mean, I have no ill will really
No,
toward anybody, frankly.
it's coming from as poor an attempt as humor as it could, but
You see, as poor of
yes,
attempt. Good, thanks.
but
Yeah,
it's still coming from an attempt of humor, and
yeah,
we all understand that
yeah,
we're trying to be funny with each other. It
yeah.
doesn't always work,
No,
so we don't take offense.
right.
So, anyway, good stuff.
No, that's good. That's good. So when invariably I say or my guest says something and I didn't realize that it could be offensive to somebody, 'cause that's the way it is these days, right? It's very
Yeah,
easy to say something. You don't even realize you're being offensive. And, you want to say like, look, I meant nothing by it at all. I mean, I just didn't realize that that's not something that you say anymore. That
mhm.
kind of thing. It's a typical thing for our generation. Maybe I'll replay this part over and over again. I didn't mean it. I
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
mean it.
listen, I mean, you can't say it was a different time because we're still here living in this time. But when you look at how we grew up, it was what was on television. It was All in the Family, right? That
Well,
show would not make it on the air today.
it would not.
You had Don Rickles, as a comedian who just abused everybody.
I just saw the bit just
Yeah,
yesterday. I'm not sure how I came across it,
yeah,
where it was Chevy Chase.
yeah,
It was him. It was him and Richard Pryor,
yeah,
and they were going back and forth as a job interview with Chase interviewing Pryor, and Chase would say one thing that was offensive to the black community, and then Pryor would say another thing back equally that would be offensive to the white community. And went back and forth on it to the point where some really terrible words were. This is on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, yeah. But you knew the intent was to be funny, and
exactly.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And you look back, and I think All in the Family was, people might today find it offensive or whatever, but it was the most, it did the most to open people's eyes about society and the problems and the race issue than probably any other show in history, because, Archie, he was a likable bigot, if that's not an oxymoron. But anyway, it's stuff that we become so protective and sheltered that, oh no, we can't.
Because they would have in an Archie Bunker scenario, they would have, he would say those things, and it was understood that by him saying it was like a mockery of him in that moment.
Yeah, he was ignorant. Yeah. So anyway, so it's gone. You have the pendulum, that swings too
always
far,
swinging,
and it swings back. You see that in politics, and you'll see it now. I mean, you got the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Yeah. And when things don't go right,
it'll snap back.
The pendulum will start to swing back.
And always does.
The Democrats will get control, and then they'll screw up, and it'll. Right. So anyway, you get that through all facets of society. So.
It's like that when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's my entire day.
Yeah. What is? You wake up and say, I want to go back to bed? Or?
Well, every morning, actually. Yes.
What's that thing that's glowing in the sky?
What was some of the craziest things that you did as a little kid? Like things that could have been like downright dangerous, other than going through New York.
Oh, I remember playing on the docks on Staten Island and in Great Kills Harbor, and one slip and I'm gone.
Yeah.
So it was just childlike adventure, just doing stuff and you didn't think.
Did you blow things up or anything like that, as a lot of boys do?
Yeah, there was model rockets, and I stopped there about saying what we put in them and launched, and but yeah.
I was good until the stop there. See, that's what I'm talking about. This is my reserved friend.
Typical, 4th of July was M80s and bottle rockets and assorted other named fireworks that we can't use the names of anymore. But yeah, there was all these different things.
Can't use the names of them. No, some of them you cannot, for sure.
Well, that's what they were called. I mean, so I'm going to turn on my light, because when we started this, it was light outside. And now it's getting dark.
Yeah, anything fun going on tonight?
No.
Excellent. So enjoy just a non-fun evening.
The wife is on Staten Island taking care of her mom. She'll be walking in the door any minute, but that's it.
So you just told me you're not having any fun tonight. Your wife is coming home.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, I told you before, we're married 31 years. If she killed me the day she met me, she'd be out of jail by now. So that's
and now it just might give her a nice break to do so. So
I know, right? Yeah, we got a life sentence now, but things are good. Very happy.
So wait, I'm sorry, did you just say your time with your wife is a life sentence?
Absolutely.
In the nicest possible way, Sharon.
Oh, death do we part, baby. That's,
Whether you like it or not, you swore to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the secret to a long marriage, is we just never wanted to get divorced at the same time.
Didn't I give you a blowjob?